Activate party mode.
A-firm, party mode engaged.
Hello and welcome to Party Mode, the F1 podcast with no limits. I'm Jethro Bovingdon and I'm joined by my good friend Charlie Curtis and nobody else. So sadly, Matt is not with us today. He's in a plane. And I know what you're thinking, but Jethro, you travel all over the world and yet you always find the time and
You find a way
to be on this podcast. And you're absolutely right. Matt just doesn't have that commitment. I don't know if it's something about being Canadian. I don't know if it's a hairdresser thing. But Matt's flaked out on us. So it's just me and Charlie. But there's not much happening because there's no racing. So let's do a nice brief catch up with where we are, answer some questions, and just keep looking forward to the next race. Charlie, how are you, mate?
I'm good. Summer's winding down for us. We had our last baseball tournament over the weekend. Kids start school on Thursday, which is kind of a pain in the ass Thursday, but whatever. I'm excited to get back into a routine, kind of get into fall.
It's so funny because over here, our holiday, it's not just started, but it's still pretty early doors for our summer holiday. So my kids don't go back till, I don't know the specific date. I should know that, shouldn't I? But it'll be like 5th or 6th of September or something. And Ellie, my youngest, is starting school for her proper school for the first time. And she's not going back till September the 15th.
Jeez.
So yeah, because she's one of the old ones. In fact, she's the oldest. Her birthday's September the 1st. So she's going to be 5. So probably the oldest kid in the class. They send all the little ones who are just 4, along for the first couple of weeks, and then they gradually introduce the older kids, which sounds okay, but I'm worried they're all going to have little friendship groups, and then she'll toddle in the older kid, and she's going to have to integrate. So it's tricky.
But they'll have that built-in cool factor because they're the old kids, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I hope so. But she's had a great summer. I mean, she spent must have been 3.5 weeks in the US, I guess. So she got to live that outdoor lifestyle, which was great. And now she's been home for a little while. We've got the big kids here. Yeah, I think she's enjoying herself. And yeah, I just can't believe it. She's going to be 5 and starting school. It's pretty cool. It'll be fun seeing her in a little uniform.
You have old ones too, but my oldest is going to junior high, or middle school, I guess they call it here.
Middle school. Yeah.
Which is a trip. So we've been doing that the last couple of weeks, going to orientation, and he's got to get a locker and figure out how to do a combination lock. I got to refigure out how to do a combination lock. I think it's been since I was in junior high that I've done one. They're getting old, man.
I know, it moves fast.
We were at a friend's birthday party yesterday, and our buddy Ryan and his daughter turned 16. And I was looking around, and there's just no little kids anymore. Like, this used to be a party of like little kids where people had to watch the pool. Someone had to be on lifeguard duty, and all these little kids running around. And now there's none. They're all old, big ass kids.
I know, it's scary. Well, Rocco, so my eldest boy, in September, he's 18 years old.
That's a trip.
I was like, we're going to go across, I live opposite a pub almost. So I was like, we'll go to the pub and you can walk up and buy me a beer on your 18th birthday. Like, I can't believe it. My little lad is going to be 18. It's crazy.
That is the cool thing about having the drinking age 18 is like, you're still at home. I feel like it's fun. By the time you're 21, at least here, you're drinking in college, you're getting fake IDs or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's not as novel. Like when you turn 21, I guess it's kind of cool. You can use your ID now, but that is kind of fun at 18. It's still kind of something you can do with your parents, you know, like you're still in their house and you go out. That is a perk of it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I mean, he's pretty sensible, actually. He boozes a bit. I took him to an event. When was it? It was probably just over a year ago. And it was the first time I think he drank quite a lot because it was a posh event. It was like black tie. And I was like, you can booze, like everything's free. Enjoy it. Just like, don't be silly. So he had loads. He had beers and gin and tonics. And then they came around at one point at the end and they were giving out shots of something or another. And I was like, you can do it. Like, because I was there, I'd rather I'm there and see it. And he did pretty well, considering he doesn't booze. I was like, you've handled it pretty well. Yeah, we'll see what happens when he's 18. He just came back from a trip. His friend, one of his friends at school, Polish lad, moved back to Poland. And I think he's really missing all his friendship group. He moved about a year ago. So like 4 of them went off to Poland for a week.
That's cool.
So he had a week in Poland, which he enjoyed. They stayed, I think, with this kid's parents for a bit, or with his mum, but also they went to like a youth hostel and stuff like that. So I think he was like, we got scammed. He was like, it was horrible. And I was like, no, I was like, how much was it a night? And he was like, oh, 23 euros or something. So like $30 a night. And I was like, I mean, what were you expecting? That's basically every hostel's not a scam. They're just disgusting. They're how it goes.
Hostels. Yep. Oh, that's great. That's so great.
Oh, it's good. It's good. Okay, so let's move on, shall we? You asked for questions. So what did we get?
I did ask for some questions. So let's, this is fun. We got a ton. So I'm going to sift through and try to get some good ones.
Yeah, and hopefully we know vaguely the answer. That would also be helpful. We were unprepared for this, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, these are just on the fly, no prep. This one's kind of fun. What's your dream car? This is from Reed Pants. What's your dream car with an unlimited budget?
Ooh, I mean, mine changes day by day. The car behind me actually is a 458 Speciale Ferrari, which is one of my absolute favourites. They're expensive, but not outrageous.
What are we talking?
I think a coupe now, the Aperta, which is the open roof car, has gone, they're crazy, like 600,000-700,000 plus, I think. I would always have a coupe over a convertible anyway. So I think you can probably get one for 350, 400, which is a lot of dosh, but it's like for cars nowadays, it's not actually that much. One thing, I just recently drove a Carrera GT again, which is a Porsche. It's like one of their every sort of 10, 15 years, proper supercars they do. It's got a V10 engine that revs, sounds like an old F1 car, manual gearbox, super simple. I think they're a couple of million now. So I'd probably have one of those. Ferrari F50, also super cool. There's so many great cars. McLaren F1 is, I think, the cliche car that everyone would say, but having driven them, they're like $25 million now. Like they're so much money.
That McLaren that you had when you were out here that we went and drove around, that was pretty rad. What's the price point on that?
They're cheap. I'd have to check the residual. The good thing about modern McLarens is, I'd say the good thing, they've suffered. They've had a bad reputation with like reliability, oversupply. The cars themselves are great, but they've just, from early days, they sort of made some wrong moves and it's hurt residuals. So I bet you'd get one of those for 150 grand, 140,000 bucks, something like that. So maybe even less. That
was rad. That was fun.
But I think Ferrari F50, Carrera GT, Porsche, that would do for me.
Mine's boring. I would go with a fully decked out, full, extra long Sprinter van for camping.
Oh, you would? You'd have like an overlanding special.
Yep. I'd dump like 200 grand into like a Mercedes extra long with all the bells and whistles and beds and stoves and showers and you name it, all of it.
That's pretty cool, actually.
That's
when we were doing Top Gear America, Rob Caudry, who hosted with me and Dax, who's like the funniest dude I've ever met. He's hilarious. He bought a Sprinter and had it all like, jacked up, but all done inside. And it was cool. He went camping, typical Rob style, no preparation, no real idea what he was doing, but managed to just about survive despite some scares. So yeah, I can see the appeal in that. Definitely, especially where you guys live.
All right. This next one is from Pancreas Eraser. How much does brake balance make a difference? I have no idea, but I know it makes a big difference. So tell us how much and why.
Yeah, so normally with any car, you have a much greater bias on the front because that's where most of the braking needs to be done. And you change that balance depending on the conditions. So in the wet, you don't want so much on the front because you'll start locking the wheel a lot. So you migrate some of that brake balance to the rear. It will depend on driver feel. It will be a little bit specific to circuits as well. But now they're so complicated, these F1 cars, because obviously the rear axle is regenning, is harvesting energy from braking. So it's the electric motor is actually spinning in reverse. Plus you've got traditional friction brakes, which are made of carbon, which need all that temperature in them. So it really changes from driver to driver, circuit to circuit. Generally, you'd have a much higher percentage on the front, but now with all this regen, it's really changing. And the way it changes is it can really change the balance of the car on the turn-in phase. Basically, the more braking you have on the rear, you might get it looser on the rear to make the car responsive, which is nice. But then you have to catch the car because it might start to oversteer. So it can change around a lot, and I think it's going to change again next year with the cars as well, because there's going to be a much more regen that you're allowed to do. So you're allowed to harvest a lot more energy over the course of a lap in order to feed into the battery pack so that you can then deploy it further on. But yeah, in the wet, you would dial the bias back. In the dry, you would generally have more on the front. That's how it works. But this is why part of it is why Lewis Hamilton is struggling so much with his Ferrari. He's not used to not so much the brake balance, but how much braking they're getting from the engine as well, engine braking. So I think all the cars are quite different. But yeah, generally you'd have probably a 70-30, something like that, front to rear, but that will change with conditions.
From the same person, Pancreas Eraser. What if the drivers push the DRS button, but they aren't within a second? And I wonder this too. Obviously, they have all the metrics back in the garage, but are they notified in the car that they're within a second, or does it turn red, like, hey, you're good now, press it? Is it all automatic? Is it all manual? How do they do it?
Yeah, they definitely have to press the button, but there will be an automated system. So I imagine the button will go green or, like you say, red, whatever, when it's armed and actually ready. Because if you hit it inadvertently, you'd get a penalty of some description and it would be a real problem. So they definitely manually open the DRS, but then it is automated shut.
When they brake, right?
When they brake, yeah. And it has to be incredibly quick because obviously you've got so much less aero with the DRS with the rear wing open.
Right.
Yeah, but it'll be the driver will have a telltale light to tell him to press the button, basically.
All right. From Scott Timebomb. Will Lewis see out his contract at Ferrari? This is an interesting one. Prior to last race, I would have said, yeah, of course he's going to ride it out, probably as long as he can. I don't know, man. After that P12 in quali, he didn't look like he was having any bit of fun, no hope. So I don't know. I like to think that he would. I definitely think it'll be his decision if he doesn't. I don't think anyone is going to let him go anywhere. I think 75% chance he does.
I think the funny thing is, before the last race, I think it outqualified Charles like 2 races in a row, maybe, or 2 out of 3. So there were signs. Again, we keep seeing these little signs, and I think that's almost the problem for him. He's got these tantalizing little bit. Oh, I can still do it, and then it dives again. I think there'll be a lot of soul searching over this summer break, and then if things don't improve, an awful lot of soul searching over the winter. At the moment, I would say for sure he's going to give himself a chance, because there's been so much talk about, these cars, the ground effect cars don't really suit Lewis. If the new cars suit him and Ferrari come out with the killer dominant car, he's going to want to give himself that chance. But if they come out with a really good car and he's getting absolutely hammered by Charles Leclerc the first half of 26, maybe he walks at that point. So I think any and every possibility is probably still on the table, but it's all going to be performance related. Simple as that.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've talked about it with Max going somewhere else too. Like, no one's going to make any decisions till they see what they have next year.
Yeah,
because who knows?
And Lewis has to. He's a pretty what's the word? I like he examines his own performance all the time, and if he gets to the point where he's like, I am no longer capable to do it, I think he will walk. It'll be painful, but I think he'd probably rather have, pull the sticking plaster off, as you say in the States, rather than let it be like a slow decline. I hope so. It'd be a tough thing to do, but
Yeah.
might be necessary.
Yep. This one's probably less for you, but day-to-day happy life asks, what's the most unexpected thing you've learned about F1 since doing the podcast? You knew all there was to know about it prior to doing the podcast, and I guess it's not as much doing the podcast as just watching Drive to Survive and learning about F1 is how little the drivers matter. Not how little they matter, but how much less they matter than I thought. It's all about the car. We're seeing it this year. The best driver, Max, Lewis, Charles, they're just not able to perform if they don't have the equipment. And I'm used to NASCAR, where they're all basically the exact same car. They're different makes, same car. Driver matters a little bit more. And this, it's all about the team. I mean, you could be running a great race and the pit crew screws up and gives you a 7-second pit stop, and there goes your race. So for me, that was the biggest thing. It's so much bigger than the one guy with a supporting cast. They're all kind of equal in how they contribute to the team and how important their jobs are. So for me, that was the biggest kind of revelation.
Yeah. And I think the thing that I always am amazed at, it feeds into what you said. They're operating at such a high level in every department. So the driver does make potentially a huge difference, but that huge difference could be 1/10 of a second or 1/10 and a half. It's not measured in seconds, unless it's Max in a Red Bull, basically. But everyone, they're so optimized, they're so on the limit. I love F1 because it's absolutely fucking stupid. It's absolutely absurd. The amount of money they spend on it, how over the top the technology is, the lengths they'll go to cheat just an extra 1/4 of a tenth out of this thing is absurd. It's like the space race happening on the ground all the time. And that's what I love about it. So I think the drivers make a difference, but because everything is so optimized, it's tiny. It's right. A tiny amount. So that's what I think's cool about it.
Yeah, you're right. Everyone's operating just at the peak of their performance. They're the best at what they do. And there's so many people on a team. There's 1,000 plus.
Yeah.
And
they're all presumably chassis. Yeah.
And they're all presumably the best at what they do. They're the top of the top. So it's fascinating how much of a team sport it really is.
It really is. Yeah.
All right. From Z Winter 3, how many points do you think Cadillac will score next year? I think they're going to get some points. I love the storyline that Checo drives for them. And if that's the case, I think he's more than capable of getting a few points. Maybe I give him 15 points.
You think? That's a lot of points.
I think he's going to have one good showing, might pick up 7 or 8 in one race and then just get a couple 1s and 2s.
Yeah, I think if it was a stable rule set, I would probably say 0. Because of what we just said, the level that even a team that you think you might watch and be like, wow, the Alpine of clowning around again or whatever, the level is so high. I don't think you stroll in and start scoring points unless there's insane weather conditions and stuff. But because this change is coming and it's so big on both chassis and engine, they've got the Ferrari engine, right, Cadillac? So. If Ferrari get the engine right and Mercedes aren't quite as optimized as they think they're going to be, and Honda struggle, Red Bull's got a brand new Ford, but basically in-house engine project. Suddenly, it's very, very tricky to say. I think I'll be surprised if they regularly do it, but like I say, it's so hard with the new rules. I'll say 7 points.
The other thing to think about is a lot of these teams have just now kind of over summer break announced they're going to stop car development for this year. Cadillac doesn't have to balance that. They have nothing this year. So they've been able to focus all of their attention and resources and personnel and man hours on next year's car. So maybe they have a little bit of I don't want to say an edge, but they're able to plan for that and only that. They don't have to worry about this year. No upgrades, no nothing.
It's true. And what you just said about the team is true. This is like a proper people sport. Like if that, and I've been near Silverstone, funnily enough, like having a McDonald's on the way back from somewhere, and I see people walk in with Cadillac outfits. So they're building up this base of people. I don't know. I think unless you're in F1, you don't know how aggressively they've recruited from other top teams. But if they're getting good people, it's possible. The infrastructure's not there yet. Yeah, let's see. I hope so. I love Caddy as a brand. Like I do the World Endurance Championship. They've got the coolest car with the best sounding V8. They're lovely to deal with. They've got a bit of a like cowboy spirit to how they're going about stuff. I'm sure it'll be a bit different F1, but I'm looking forward to seeing them in there.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of Cadillac, from Sarah D. Bruce, how unusual is it for new teams to join F1? Have there always been 10 teams? Have they had more or less in the past? I don't know this one.
Yeah, no, there's not always been 10 teams. It used to be extremely easy to join F1. You basically went to Cosworth, bought a V8 engine in the 70s and 80s that everyone used called the DFV, which was this super lightweight compact engine that sort of revolutionized F1 actually. You could buy a chassis from a chassis supplier, you could cobble one together yourselves. And so over history, there's been all sorts of hilariously underprepared, undercooked teams with vaguely criminal money backing and all sorts of, shady goings on, and some truly crappy drivers that have been there because they've got, they've paid the check basically. So back in the day, there was even something called pre-qualifying. So before you even got to qualifying, the cars off the back of the grid, I think the maximum number of cars would have been, I would have to check off the top of my head. I'd say 26, maybe something like that. But to get into qualifying, there'd be a pre-qualifying session where basically all the really tiny low-end teams would try and get into qualifying and generally blow up, crash, drive incredibly slow. I mean, there were teams that would be like literally 10, 12 seconds a lap off the pace. Like that's how different it was, and back in the 80s, you would occasionally see like Williams with a dominant car qualify 3.5 seconds ahead of the car in third place. Like it was, there wasn't this like hundredths of a second always. But no, there's been many more cars in the past. There's been pre-qualifying. There's been small, crappy teams you've never heard of. And that was really cool, but I just don't think it's the way sport works nowadays. So it's not really like that anymore. But there are still talks of a 12th team. Who knows? There could be. And maybe Christian Horner heads up a 12th team. Otmar has said he's got the money and the backing and a manufacturer to do a 12 team. So it could still happen. 24 cars on the grid would be great, I think.
Seems like chaos, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, just imagine the first lap. I mean, already with 20, it's insane going into that first turn. What if, just adding 4 more cars. Yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. Jethro from C. Jones. If you were on the grid next year, who would you want to be your teammate?
I would probably choose Charlie or Matt or someone that I would 100% beat.
I was going to say the same thing.
Maybe a toddler.
One of my kids.
Someone, yeah. Or, like a 95-year-old who can't actually operate the brakes or the pedals. That would, anyone who's like deeply, deeply untalented or unsuitable to drive, basically. But if I really wanted to learn from someone or watch someone, I mean, it would, if you wanted to see and learn, it's got to be Max or Lewis, hasn't it, really? Because Max is the current absolute benchmark, and Lewis is the guy with all the experience who probably works the team in a really clever way. So if I was a young guy, although Max is the career destroyer, you'd still back yourself to go up against him. And if not, Lewis would be a great guy to learn from.
It's tough because this, again, is a unique sport in that your biggest competition and your biggest point of comparison is your teammate. So of course you want to be with the best teammate generally, but in this situation, it makes you look terrible when you have, Max or you've got a good teammate. Yeah, I'm gonna assume that I'm a rookie coming in. I might take Max as a rookie, knowing that like there's no expectations, or Lewis as a rookie. If I was older coming in with some experience, I'd go for bottom of the grid. But if I
Yeah.
was a rookie going in, like Antonelli, I feel like he could thrive off of whoever he's teamed up with, because he's expectations, I guess, are a little higher for him, but he's still a rookie. He's still so young. He can learn before he really has to perform.
It's a tricky one, but I saw a thing talking about the levels, literally, and I'm sure a lot of you might have seen it as well on Instagram. But it's David Coulthard, multiple Grand Prix winner, drove for McLaren, couple of times looked like he was in the hunt for a title. He's obviously older now. He does the TV coverage for Channel 4 in the UK. He's probably mid 50s at the oldest. Anyway, he was the first Red Bull driver, and he started with Christian Horner back in the day, got the team established. He got in a car, he was saying, to do a single flying lap for a promo thing. He did a single flying lap. It was at Imola, I believe, and then Max did the same. This is an F1, multiple F1 drive, winner.
Mm-hmm.
And he hadn't driven at Imola for a long time, hadn't driven an F1 car for a long time, but it was a car that I think he'd driven in the past. He said Max was 5 seconds a lap quicker on that single lap. And you think he's a freaking ex-Formula One driver, operated at the highest level, teammate with Mika Hakkinen, who was the guy Michael Schumacher respected the most during that era, and he was close. And just stepping away and then trying to get back in is a whole different ball game. So yeah, that's the level you're operating at.
All right. Here's an interesting one from Snow Mesa Studio. Can you guys expand on why there are no women drivers in F1? I think it just comes down to there hasn't been much of an opportunity, and it's all kind of, I think racing in general is probably a male-dominated sport across all, whatever it is. And so there probably haven't been as many opportunities. But 2 years ago, Matt Dax and I went and watched the F1 Academy races, and they're cool. And they have that new show out there. So I think it's possible in the future. I just don't think there's been enough exposure. There hasn't been a clear path for female drivers to get there. But I don't know if there's something else to it.
Yeah, there's definitely lack of opportunity in the past. Pure maths, there's a lot more guys than girls doing it. And when you're talking about the best 20 drivers in the world, if out of the best 10,000 drivers in the world, let's say 7,000 of them are men and 3,000 are women, it would naturally that the top 20 is going to be more likely to be male dominated. But there are some things that could change, like Jamie Chadwick, who does some of the Sky coverage and is great and is a really top level driver. She was saying an F2 car, for example, doesn't have power steering. So she said, despite the fact she's talented and probably could drive one to a really good level, she's like, I physically cannot drive it. I'm not strong enough to compete in it. Because the G-forces, the forces through the loads through the steering wheel, etc., are really, really intensely physical. But yeah, if you end up with the feeder series for F1 doesn't have power steering, which rules out a lot of the female drivers, then it's a ridiculous situation that needs to change. But there are women competing at a really high level in World Endurance Championship, in different categories around the world. But yeah, I'm sure it's coming. I would say in the next, it's not going to be tomorrow. I haven't seen any that it's going to be super soon. But let's hope in the next 5
Didn't
to 7
last
years.
year Aston Martin I forget her name. I should know, but their F1 Academy female driver, didn't she drive the Aston Martin around somewhere?
I think you're right. But no one's doing regular free practices. It's just not happening at the moment. And F1, like all top level sport, it will come down to who wins. Like even if it's someone incredibly marketable, if they're not quite capable to do it. So we're not there yet, but it will happen. I hope so anyway.
From Sarah Diaz, why the Lando hate? Look, I think Jethro, you like him. You always say you want him to win when he's up there.
I do. I like him.
I don't hate him. I don't hate seeing him win. he just, to me, his personality is not very likable. He's not very likable to me. He seems a little whiny, a little cheesy. Um, I don't hate him though. I'm happy for him when he wins. I would just pick someone else sometimes if I had to choose.
Matt's the same, isn't he? Matt is definitely a Piastri. You two like Piastri, which I get as well. He's got that low key, super cool appeal to him, hasn't he? I like Lando. I'm a fan. He's cool. Like, it's just nice to have sports people who are like quite expressive and fun, and also admit when they're having a bit of a nightmare. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's cool. So yeah, I have no hate for Lando. And he buys some very cool cars. He just floats around Monaco in, vintage Lamborghinis, and he's a dude.
Speaking of Lando, I did see, for some gossip, Lando is in Ibiza with Margarita, his girlfriend.
Yeah.
So
they're
it
definitely
seems like they're on again, off again, but right now they're on, at least for break.
Do Americans go to Ibiza? Is it a thing? Because when I was a kid, because it's near, it was the party island. So from the UK, everyone went to Ibiza, then it became like where I went, it was scuzzy bars. There was the beautiful nightclubs which we could afford to go to maybe one in the 2 weeks we were there, but most of the time we're in this area called San Antonio, which was like a dump. But there were no Americans when I was there, but it seems to be a bit more of a thing these days.
It's just so far. I've never been, but it's so far, and it's like we have so many things that are closer. I mean, there's Hawaii for us in LA. That's a 5-hour flight, and you're in Hawaii, any of the islands, and you have whatever you want. You have like Waikiki, which is touristy city, and then you have Kauai, which is super nice and high end and a little more exclusive and secluded. So you have all that right there if you want something tropical. We have Cabo, is also like, what is that?
Of course.
2.5 hour flight right from here. And same thing there. You can go down and you can be in the scuzzy club scene, or you can go to some really fancy, nice resorts. And then if you I think probably the closest thing to Ibiza for us is Miami. Like, on my way to Ibiza, I could just be in Miami. And it's not the same, but it's the same, kind of scratches the same itch.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's as big. Maybe on the East Coast, because they are that much closer, but it's not that big. I don't know a ton of people that go there, vacation there.
Yeah, it's a cool place. I enjoyed it when I was 16 and 17. It
looks great. I want to go, but
yeah,
it's a trek. It's a trek. I wonder this one too. This is from Lukey Dunk. If technology keeps getting better, why do track records stand for so long? So when Matt gives us those track breakdowns, generally it's from 2020 to 2022, some old record for lap time. So what's the deal with that?
Well, it's pretty simple. I think the FIA have generally over the years been worried about cars getting faster and faster and faster because the performance could very quickly overtake the safety aspect of the cars. So engineers are incredibly clever. If you look at every rule set, they're generally designed to produce less downforce and less performance because the cars are getting to the point where the FIA feel they're dangerously quick. I mean, look at the current cars, even they're pulling 4.5, 5G through corners. You're getting to the limit of what people can withstand for a long period of time. And when you up downforce, what you actually do is potentially reduce the quality of the racing, because the more downforce you have, the less you have to brake for corners for a start, the more grip you have. So when you do brake, those braking distances are incredibly short. So trying to outbrake someone becomes impossible because you're talking about braking distances that are so incredibly short already. There's no scope to do that. And so normally it's been advertised as a safety thing. And that's what they do. They're trying to slow the cars down. They're generally trying to make smaller engines, bit more efficiency. And what they're trying to do is keep a good level of performance, but improve the racing. That generally is where we're at the moment. But yeah, the V10 cars from early 2000s still have some track records, 2004, 2005, because they were super light. There was a tire war, which is also a massive part of performance. If you have one single supplier, no competition, they'll give you very safe, conservative tyres. If Pirelli suddenly had Michelin or Bridgestone with half the teams on the grid, the lap times would probably cut overnight by 3 or 4 seconds because the tyres would be that much more aggressive. So tyre technology plays a huge part of it. But normally it's normally done for safety. But yeah, a tyre war would spice things up very, very quickly. And they're already talking about 26. We won't cover it today because we're already going on for a decent time. But they're talking about reducing downforce by up to 30%. But already they're saying, actually, the lap times are only going to be about a second off where they are. And by 27, they'll be back to where they are. So the way these guys find performance is incredible. Like I said earlier, space race on wheels is what it is. That's the level of intellect and money being thrown at it. So
it does seem like a lot of the technology, so to speak, is based on efficiency too.
mm-hmm.
How much battery, smaller engines, how they can get performance out of a smaller engine. So yeah, if the goal is to be more efficient, you're probably going to sacrifice a little on the performance side, I would imagine.
Yeah, and they've gone that way because they want to attract large manufacturers, and large manufacturers feel what they need to show the world is their drive for sustainability, efficiency, etc. I think no F1 fan actually cares about that, but they just want to pay lip service to it. So fine.
Yeah. Should we do one more?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. This is from Alice W87, and this goes into a little bit of gossip that Matt sent over. How are the bottom teams making a profit? And so we always hear that every position you finish in the Constructors' Cup is however many millions of dollars more. Even still, they're not making a ton off of that, right? It's all through their sponsorships. The car is plastered with sponsorship. We knew a guy that has a company out here, and he was in some talks with Mercedes, and I'm talking a tiny little decal somewhere inconspicuous was like $20 million a season. So if you expand that out to all of those, all on the helmets, all on this race suit, it's got to be all advertising, right?
Yeah, I think it is. And the thing about it, the teams didn't make profit. And they haven't historically for decades and decades and generations. There's like a cliched but famous saying, how do you make a small fortune in motor racing? Start with a big one. Like you burn cash. You burn and burn and burn cash. And that's what teams have done. Since the formation of F1, it's been a passion project. People have lost fortunes. Is only really... Bernie Ecclestone made a big difference when he came in and really modernized the sport, and the big teams started to make money. Ferrari made money because they got these historic payments for being the biggest brand and being in it from the very beginning. But TV rights, sponsorship, merchandise, that's how they do it. But up until very recently, at least half the grid would have been burning cash, not making it. So it's a credit actually to Liberty that now all of the teams can be at least cash neutral and make some money. And you think back in the day, Toyota came into F1 and they were the biggest car manufacturer in the world at the time. They were probably spending, the cap now is what, 200, it's less than that, isn't it? It's like 140 million plus the highest paid people are outside of that. So let's say they're spending 200 or even 250 mil. Even back in the day, Toyota would have been spending 450, 500 mil just to be on the grid. And they weren't winning. They weren't even close to winning most of the time.
That's a lot of money to make back.
Yeah, they were burning. And the big teams were actually against the cost cap, because they were like, no, if you can't afford to play at the top table, don't come along. You know, they wanted to spend 500, 600. They'd spend whatever they could. So making money has been secondary to competing in F1 for years, but now they are at the point where sponsorship, TV rights, Drive to Survive, all of these things feed into that.
Yeah, we have obviously salary caps in sports, but there are some sports where you can pay, they call it a luxury tax, and you're taxed, but you can go over the salary cap. There are players on the Yankees, on the Dodgers, on these big teams where one player's salary is more than some of the other smaller market teams' entire team.
Yeah.
And so it's still the same. It's like if you have the money to burn, you're gonna almost pay double, but you're gonna
Yeah.
try
It
to
always
win.
comes down to cash in the end. Like I say, it's amazing that any of them make money when you see how much they burn. So fair play that the sport's got big enough that they can make some cash.
I would think too for teams like Ferrari, maybe McLaren to some extent, or Aston Martin, Mercedes, these car manufacturers. I wonder if they're getting money from like their marketing budget. Like you're seeing
Yeah.
that brand plastered all over. Toyota's a great example because they have they have entry level cars that everyone could purchase. But there's got to be it's got to be built in there that's marketing for them. Ferrari, that's, if people are
For
walking
sure.
around wearing Ferrari merch and gear and seeing Ferrari plastered everywhere, it's probably going to lead to at least a few more sales, I would imagine, even for those high price
It
cars.
has to, because look at Audi. They're probably, to get into the sport almost from zero, they now reckon it's like $1 billion. So, I mean, Audi's not making $1 billion in the next couple of years from F1. So a lot of it is, you just paying to play.
From that, another source of revenue is media rights. So after a strong Q2 from Liberty Media, they'll be paying out teams a total of $513 million. So that's from TV rights, I'm assuming. And so that's another big chunk. I can't remember what it was, but the rights are like a $2 billion industry, or at least it was a couple years ago.
God, yeah, must be, huge sums of cash.
I'm sure the teams don't get all of that, and it might be distributed based on where you finish. I don't know how. And of course, F1 and Liberty Media is keeping a lot of that, but there's money there too. So.
Yeah, they're making cash now. There's no, I mean, that's why they basically, they value each team at like $1 billion now, don't they? Even if you're towards the back of the grid. So there's definitely incentive now commercially to be involved with the sport.
It's a trip how I think it's even in America, probably in all sports, is like you're not actually making money, but you're increasing the value of that asset when you go to sell it.
Yeah.
So, it's like Alpine, they've made money because the value of that has gone up so much, but they're not making any money.
Yeah.
This
is the thing. It's like when you hear about these huge companies and it's like they lost 220 million this quarter or something. And you're like, why won't the bank give me 220 million to lose in a quarter?
Why not just stop doing business? Just stop doing business.
Do something with that.
You just do nothing and you're up 220 million. Just stop doing business. Yeah. That's a trip.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Okay, have we got any other poll? Well, it's like I say, everyone's properly on the shutdown, aren't they?
That was it. And so everyone's kind of aware the summer break is not just because there's no races. The teams are also shut down. It's a forced break for all the teams and personnel and all that stuff. So there's not much going on because everyone's on vacation. Everyone's in Ibiza right now.
Everyone's in Ibiza, yeah. I wish.
But we did. Fred Vasseur re-signed his contract. That's kind of a little bit of news, but not a whole lot going on.
Yeah, so not much pulp to be going on. Next time we will have Matt back if he can be bothered to join us, probably. No, I'm sure. No, he's doing important things. He's on a plane and then he's
I don't know where he is
someone's
actually.
hair, so there's big things happening. So we'll run through the 2026 rules because they are absolutely slightly mind-blowing and in places depressing, in other places quite interesting. So we'll go through that next week. So let's just say that's it for this week. But remember, party mode, it's not just for Q3. It's a way of life, people. So until next time, keep it pinned.
I like it.